Hey y'all, how you doing? This is Sharyn, and it is about 7 o'clock on a Monday. So I'm just gonna share the recording with you all. And if it brings life or adds value, yay, yay, yay. Um, if not, my work for tomorrow morning will still be done. So today, guys, I want to talk about embarrassment, because I I was looking at a clip. Let me just jump right in. Join as y'all want to join. I hope you guys get on in here. If you have questions, you can ask them because I'll be able to see them tonight. Tomorrow, I won't be able to see them unless I review or until I review. So, the moral of the story is I was watching a clip today. I was doing some of the social media posting for myself and for a client. No, today was only for myself. I was doing some social media posting for myself, setting some stuff up. You schedule it out or you can batch it, and I came across this clip by Tony Robbins. And in the clip, he was saying how the worst day of his life became the best day of his life. And I was like, all right, I'm looking because I'm scrolling, as people often do, as you probably have done too today. So I'm scrolling and I look at it, and he begins to continue to talk, saying, I guess something happened younger in his life or someone that brought them groceries. But he was saying how the worst day of his life became the best day of his life because he started doing better financially and things like that. And he wanted to buy some groceries for someone. If you want to know more, just check out the LinkedIn post. Like I said, doing some things on social media. But he talked about how he took some food to a couple of families. He goes into that story. It's his story. He can tell it so much better than me. So again, go check out the LinkedIn post. But it made me think about something I had wrestled with a couple of years back. I don't know if y'all remember, but it was a season when everybody was talking about the eggs after the pandemic, and it was a couple of years in between then and now, but people were talking about how expensive eggs were because eggs shot up, and that was a noticeable thing. People noticed that about the eggs, and I wanted to do something because I was doing a little better than I'd done, the year or two or just before in my life, in this journey, this amazing journey we have called life. And so it made me think about something I wrestled with. And instead of me talking about the potato that was thrown at me, we'll cover that next week. I was like, no, I'm going to talk about this because this is a real time thing. So what happened was, this instance made me realize how embarrassment is like a teacher in leadership. Embarrassment can teach you, not because you did something wrong. No, sometimes embarrassment just will reveal where like your identity, pride, insecurity, compassion, visibility, everything's just like just kind of colliding at the same time. And so what I learned is like leadership isn't always about what you build publicly. I'm gonna come back to the eggs. This is all about the eggs and about giving, right? Leadership is more than about what you do publicly, like what people can see. Oh, my degree's in leadership, whatever. But it's also about stuff that happens behind the scenes, what gets refined privately. I speak often on people who have nice bodies and they're getting ready for the summer, or, like a 6-pack, a 8-pack, whatever it is. It's because of something they're doing when no one is looking. Like we see what the hard work reveals, but we don't always see the hard work. And embarrassment is kind of like that. So here's some things embarrassment taught me about leadership. It can reveal your hidden pride. It can, when it reveals pride, it's not because you get embarrassed because something like you're doing something bad. I was embarrassed because when the groceries went up, we started giving away these gift cards for eggs. Not luxury this or high dollar sponsorship money from someone who's sponsoring us, just gift cards, just giving away gift cards to help people with their grocery shopping. And I was embarrassed, like, just true story, because sometimes you feel like somebody had made fun of me, basically, is the truth of the story. Someone made fun. It's like, oh, you only giving out $25? Like, ha ha ha, what's $25 going to do? And I was embarrassed. And we even went up to 50. And so I was embarrassed, and I didn't understand why I was embarrassed, because I know I've had seasons in my life for $25. I'm like, thank you, Lord. What are you talking about? That's gas to get to work. That's a meal. That's some groceries. You know, you can buy staples with that. And eggs were a staple that was somehow going to become a luxury because prices were increasing so much in our regular day to day. So it wasn't that I was embarrassed because I kind of felt like it wasn't big enough. You know, it wasn't polished enough or impressive enough in their eyes. But the embarrassment, y'all stay with me. It let me know for me to feel embarrassed. Maybe I felt like it wasn't enough in my own eyes, you know, like, dang, ew, cringe, you know, like I had to think about that. And that kind of humbled me. So that realization humbled me. And here's some more things I'm going to talk about. Helping people is still helping people, even if you think it's small, even if it's imperfect, even if don't nobody know. Nobody has to clap for you. If you're helping because you want to. But it's like embarrassment can reveal where dignity lies. And I realized in that instance, people don't just need help, right? They still need dignity. They still need to maintain their dignity. Dignity should be attached to the help. Now, the hard-hearted would be like, you better take what you can get, huh? Help is help. No, okay, maybe if that's how you work it out. But for me in my heart, that's not how I was working it out. I don't want people to feel dismissed or undignified because they need help. I didn't want to feel that way when I needed help. When I was going to pantries, you know, when I even this instance, I remember a lady, her name was Linda, Pastor Linda. And I was up there on the prayer line and I was praying. I was like, God, help me, Jesus. And Pastor Linda walked up to me and she was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm all right. You know, this between me and God, I'm thinking, you know, yeah, I'm okay. And she took a step and then she turned around and she looked at me and she's like, do you need some food? And instantly I was offended. I was like, no, I don't need any food, you know? And so I left, right? I left the church, service was over. I didn't storm out or anything. But when I left that evening and got on my bicycle in my adult life to ride home, it hit me. It was like, but you don't have any food, Sharyn. You have some Pop-Tarts. That's all you have at the house is some Pop-Tarts. And I was like, dang, you know, but I was so offended that she asked me about needing help that I was going to stay hungry. I think this is why this Tony Robbins clip hit me differently. So like in that case, that was an embarrassment. People still need dignity. Now, she didn't strip me of dignity, but when I was having people put eggs in the comment, it occurred to me, maybe that was stripping people of dignity. I didn't think of it like that, and I didn't mean for that to be the case. And so I realized there's a difference between blessing people and accidentally making them feel like exposed when they're receiving the blessing. And I realized then leadership does require emotional awareness, not just good intentions. And the criticism where they were laughing at me, criticism is either going to harden you or refine you. Let it refine, y'all. Let it refine, let it refine, let it refine. Listen, let it refine you. Don't have a hard heart because someone else does. People mock what they don't understand. And when you're visible long enough, you have visibility, you will eventually become somebody who's misunderstood by somebody else. Now, know that criticism doesn't always require like combat. Some criticism requires reflection, and this was the case with me. I may be rambling, just stay with me though. Because I had to ask, what about them laughing at me about that $25, $50, little gift card? Like, why did that bother me? Why did that bother me so much, y'all? Like, what is that? Why would that bother me? And I prayed about it, you know, because the question of why did it bother me changed me more than the criticism itself. I prayed about it. And when I prayed about it, I really began to like see and sense that possibly the shame I was feeling is shame that other people, shame and embarrassment that others felt for even needing the help. Maybe I was embarrassed because they were laughing at me because I could only give those amounts, you know. My pride got involved in it a little bit, wanted to stand up and be like, I can give more, or who are you? You know, I wanted to be reactive, and I wanted to, you know, your flesh beater, you want to do what you do and get back, you know, match energy. But I believe matching energy is always a lesser victory. I do. I know it feels good temporarily, but fighting fire with fire, it's going to leave a pile of ashes. And so it just helped me to understand this. Again, guys, this is about embarrassment being a great lesson for us. You know, is it our enemy or is it insight? Is it a moment of shame or is it a time of opportunity, an opportunity for growth? I believe two things can be true at once. Now, one of the dangers of visibility is that good intentions can often be quietly like attach themselves to your ego, your pride, your fear of men. Like you want to be seen as good. The embarrassment in this case, it helped me check my motives. You know, was I helping to truly serve? Or was a part of me unconsciously looking for affirmation too? Was I looking for somebody to applaud? Y'all, that's a hard question, but mature leadership, which is what I talk about, will ask hard questions. And small matters, small gifts, small giving, like that stuff matters more than people think, right? It does. But if you're giving for the wrong reasons, it can expose things also. And so in this case, even though I was embarrassed that they laughed at me and they tried to clown me, it's not about them. That's between them. That's between them and their God. But as far as me and my house, I really needed to see why I was embarrassed. Why would you be embarrassed about that, Sharyn? And then also, I believe in control what you can control, right? Things outside of my control, their comments, that's them. What can I control? All right, so change eggs. Don't make people put eggs in the comment to enter into this thing. So what we did is we changed it so that it just became the topic of whatever. To win a drawing for a gift card, we took the whole thing about eggs away. Now, my intentions and my motives were my intentions and my motives, right? But we just took eggs all the way out of it because you control what you can control. And that's something I could control. We changed it, Kenneth and I, we changed it to a topic. Whatever show we were talking about, whether on Knowledge or Nonsense or Time to Talk, we made the giveaway connected to the topic of the show, not the topic of eggs. And so I want to share with you too, like as a leader, sometimes we think things are small, but that could be our perception. You don't know what hits people or how something lands with people when it lands. You just don't know. You know, somebody could be, you could come through and you don't know what type of day they had or how big the hole is in their pocket. And then you come with something that you believe is small, but it gives them gas to get to work throughout the course of the week. Or it gives them money, again, to buy staples so they can feed their children. If it's one thing we ought to know in America by now, you don't know what's going on in other people's house. You know, I don't care. America is good at looking good on the outside and stuff be going crazy in the inside. We live in this world where people are obsessed with scale. Bigger, bigger, more, more, consumption, big numbers, big influence, big platforms. Like you need all that to have a big impact, but that's not true. Sometimes a small act done is louder than the biggest of platforms, okay? So don't underestimate the emotional weight of helping somebody breathe easier for one day. Don't do that. Don't let, even if somebody else is belittling it, don't you belittle it. And let emotional intelligence change how you interpret pain. That became wisdom for me. Not because the situation changed and people quit laughing. They didn't, but I changed. Not necessarily my heart. You know, I still have a heart toward giving, but my discernment grew. I grew in that instance because God is great and God is good. But growth helped me realize, like, okay, so that hurt when it happened. It hurt my little feelings, a little egg on my face. If that's the worst thing that happens that day, I'm having a good day. A little egg on my face is not cancer. A little egg on my face is not me getting a life-changing phone call that somebody I love died. You know, like it's simply a little egg on my face that I can wipe off, wash off. Depending how hungry I am, I may eat the egg. I don't know. But if it's the worst thing that happened that day, y'all, I was still having a good day. So it did hurt at the time, but I now understand, you know, some of the lessons it's teaching. Leadership draws insights, you know, it draws insights without becoming weak. And one of the greatest challenges in leadership is still staying compassionate after you've been criticized. Still having like a heart of generosity when you have an opportunity to become hardened and cynical. You don't want to be cynical. You don't want to be defensive. You don't want to be performative. Just be grounded, strong enough to keep serving, okay? Strong enough to keep serving, wise enough to keep learning, secure enough to keep growing, secure enough. Sometimes embarrassment is not there to destroy us, y'all. Sometimes it's there to refine our motives and to deepen our compassion and mature our leadership. So I'm asking you to let it. What once made you uncomfortable can make you wiser. Simply put, it can make you wiser. That's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about Think on Purpose. Those of you who've been charting with me for years, because most people don't realize how much of their life is shaped by their emotions, by what they think, by what they're thinking, by thoughts. They never slow down to examine or identify emotions they don't look at. That moment of embarrassment taught me a lot because I didn't deal with it as just emotion. Like I felt emotion, but I didn't deal with it as just emotion. I really was like, I prayed. I was like, Lord, help me. Why would this embarrass me? Out of all the things I've been through in my life, this is it. This got me embarrassed, you know? Not I'm not gonna get too deep in it, but there's plenty more that I've been embarrassed by and embarrassed about. Why would me intending to do something good cause me to feel embarrassment? Like, why was somebody able to throw shame on me for that? And so I realized embarrassment is not something to be feared, guys. It's just information. Whether you are afraid to speak publicly, whether you are afraid to share your ideas, that embarrassment was just information. And for me, it uncovered insecurity. You know, I was insecure about the amount. I wanted to be able to give more. I felt like because I could only give that, like it made me feel less than because the people who was kind of poking fun at me could give more. So it made me feel less than. And I was like, dang, Sharyn, you need to look at that. Why would that make you feel less than? What? It showed my pride. Like, you know, yeah, it stung a little bit. It revealed like more about my leadership than I knew, that maybe I was a stronger leader than I knew because I decided I'm still going to give, you know, make the adjustment, change the comment again from eggs to something else. But the desire was to help those who looked at our, who watched our videos, you know, those who watched the podcast, those who were a part of that. The desire did not change. And so I don't know why I would stop giving. My desire to give didn't change. And you just listen, guys, you can't let people making fun of you or the fear of embarrassment stop you from moving forward. All right. You have to let it move forward. But this is, again, why I'm so passionate about Think on Purpose. That's their perception. Someone else's perception would be different. I still want to serve. I still want to let people have dignity. All of those things was attacked in that one moment. Again, many people react to their feelings. Fewer still investigate them. I think you should investigate them. I am a fan of investigating your feelings and your thoughts. And if you want to learn more, there'll be some links in the podcast thing tomorrow and on the YouTube page. When you begin to really investigate and look at your thought, everything changes. Leadership, your relationships, your confidence, and your discernment. Me discerning what was actually popping off in that embarrassment was a great help to my life, because outside success looks a certain way, but that internal success, it hits differently, y'all. It rocks differently. You know, that's what we think on purpose. Think is a verb. Our emotions, like we look at those things, examine it. Some of y'all know I wrote this book called Think on Purpose. I think it was 2014. Dr. Martin, you may have to correct me on that. And so this was Think on Purpose, right? But after I went through some of the things I went through, I revamped that puppy. Boom. And so it's the book and the workbook, because I was like, okay, they can read about my journey, or maybe I can help someone through their journey. Now, the single book does that. But the book with the workbook, this revamped version, it really goes deeper into leadership. Because when I first penned the book, I had a leadership studies degree, but I hadn't had, 12 years of actually being in leadership on both sides, spiritually and professionally, and now on this side of it, I was like, oh, it's so much more. It's so much more. It is so much more that locks people in place sometimes. They're like ankle weights on it, or you're shackled by it because you are fearful of moving in a certain way because our culture is what our culture is. But I'm telling you, don't let the external stop you from doing what you feel led to do and what you have a heart and passion and compassion to do. Y'all, we humans, and humans are awesome. I know some of them crazy. Listen, I know we all got some crazy in us, and it's some stuff you just be like, ugh, why? But overall, I think that people are good. People are kind. People want to see their family succeed. People want to help their neighbors. I think the world tries to make you afraid to do so, or have such a scarcity mindset that you don't move in that way. And I'm just wanting to inject something in there to say, no, that's not true. It's a fact, but it's not true. And so I want to encourage you to give to someone, to be kind to someone, to be nice to someone, not for wealth or fame, but because it is a good thing to do. I want to encourage you to be the clay, whether that's clay that is a pot holding a flower, a spoon giving somebody a sip of something to drink, a cup giving them more to drink, a bowl giving them sustenance and nourishment, whatever being the clay looks like in your life. I want to encourage you to do so. And if you have struggled with some of these things, being paralyzed by the thought of embarrassment, or thinking embarrassment is one of your enemies, and so everything in your power is to avoid it, like it's your focus to avoid it, I want to encourage you to investigate what is actually embarrassing, why it's embarrassing, and can it be shifted, reframed, or adjusted in such a way that is life-giving not only to you, but to those around you and to those that you will interact and cross paths with. Y'all, my name is Sharyn Combs. This is Be the Clay. I thank you for being with me here this month. I know a lot of people are graduating. May is a time of transition. And so I want to encourage you in this time of transition, do what you can to hold your form, do what you can to be kind, and just take a pause and think about, okay, instead of letting these emotions drive me and these thoughts drive me, I'm going to take a moment and look at what's really going on and see what insight you can pull out. Again, y'all, that's all I got today. Y'all be safe, have fun, crush it this week. And by all means, please follow me on Spotify, subscribe to the podcast, or on LinkedIn, come and see me there. Yeah, that's it. I've said enough. Y'all have a good one. Be safe and God bless.
Sharyn Combs. She is an experienced, passionate, and charismatic speaker. Since 2000, Sharyn has been investing herself in the success of others, captivating them with humor and openness that promotes audience engagement.
It doesn't have to be a fight between me and you. We can focus on solutions. And how do we focus on solutions? We establish common ground.
The thing I want to say is, if you are fortunate enough to reach Coach Shay and set some time up with her, you're going to be very lucky.
We have assumptions, so many, and you have to check your assumptions, because your assumptions can be the very barrier or bottleneck to us being able to work effectively together.
You're going to realize your true growth potential as a leader as well. She actually presented it in a way it felt new.